Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Grow Your Recruitment Business in 2021 LinkedIn Live show. As always, we're going live via StreamYard, so there is a little bit of delay between us going live via StreamYard and you being able to see us on LinkedIn and Facebook. So if you can come on and let us know who's watching, say hello. It's always nice to see who's there. If you're watching on the replay, please do come on and let us know as well and say hello so that we know who's been here. Today, my special guest is Luke from Marble Talent. I will introduce Luke properly in a moment because he's got a lot of really interesting things to say, and I want to make sure that we have as many people logged on as possible before we go ahead. So today's episode is another in our series celebrating the rise of the independent recruiter. So as I said, I'll introduce Luke in a moment, but first, a couple of words about our sponsor of today's show, and also an exciting announcement about something that is going on next week as well. So today's episode is sponsored by District 4. District 4, as many of you will know, support experienced recruiters to start their own businesses. So alongside myself, District 4 are running a free challenge next week called Start Your Recruitment Business in 2022. So it's a 5-day free challenge. Every day you get a new task to complete to explore your startup journey. And we also have a live Q&A every lunchtime as well. So during the 5 days, you will explore your why, your vision, your financials, your market, and we'll start to put together your business plan. Now, it's very much an exploration. So at the end of the week, you will either be absolutely raring to go and start your recruitment business in 2022, or you'll have decided it's not for you, which is absolutely fine. So we'd love you to join us on the challenge. I'm going to post a link in comments just under the broadcast here, or you can DM me for any details, but we'd absolutely love you to join us. Now, without further ado, I can see people logging on now. Hi, everyone. Oh, my cousin's watching. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Ash. Hi, Zoe. Hi, Louie. We will get on with introducing today's show. So my special guest today is Luke Porter. Luke is the director of Marble Talent Group. Now, I had a chat with Luke a couple of weeks ago, and I really loved his story. I think he's really inspirational. If you don't follow Luke already on LinkedIn, absolutely get on over and send him a connection request because his content is absolutely awesome as well. And the reason I wanted to have Luke on the show today is that he actually started his business during the pandemic. Not only did he start his recruitment business during the pandemic, he started last November, in the middle of the November lockdown, because they'd already signed the lease on the office and with no recruitment experience whatsoever. And Luke is now in a bigger office with 10 members of staff going into 2022 with a really, really exciting business. So welcome to Luke. Now, as I said, Luke, you started your business not just during the pandemic, but in November last year during a lockdown. Do you want to give me a little bit of a background as to why you decided to set up?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was probably about 2 or 3 years in the making, to be honest with you. It was I started it with my business partner. He's been in recruitment for 10 years, and my background is very much sales. So sales management, running sales teams in the software industry. So no real recruitment experience whatsoever. And he reached out to me because he wanted to do something. He's actually my cousin as well, which helps. And he reached out and said, do you want to do something in recruitment and start a business with me? And I spoke to him briefly. I think it was 2018, 2019. And I said, yeah, sounds interesting. And then I kind of started doing really well at work again. So I put it on a back burner. So I think he caught me on a good day when I was not having such a good time at work. We kind of put it on a back burner for a bit. And then lockdown happened, working from home in March last year, still working for my software company. And he was still doing his recruitment. And I'd had enough. I was very stressed out with work, not enjoying it whatsoever. So I went back to him probably in June, July of last year and said, let's do it. Let's just do it. We've got our savings. What's the worst that can happen? So we registered the business in August, spent time building a website, so we did it all ourselves, basically, all our own savings. We had no backing whatsoever. We've both got families. He's got a young family. I've got a young family, mortgages. So on paper, it was really stupid what we did. But luckily, we got quite a supportive family, and they backed us all the way. And we launched it in November. We hated working from home. We hated every second of it. I know a lot of people love it, but I don't. I like being in an office atmosphere. So we got an office. little 2-man office, just the two of us in there, and went from there really. So the lockdown got announced. I think it got announced in October, and we'd already signed the lease. So we were like, well, we better crack on. So a lot of early mornings in November. It's actually November the 9th, so it's our birthday next Tuesday. So yeah, it was just hard work in the beginning, to be honest with you.
I think I would say it wasn't a stupid decision. I would say it was very, very brave, and it's definitely paid off. So explain how it's worked between, it's Pete, isn't it? Your
Pete, yeah.
Yes. So explain how it's worked between you and Luke. You and Pete then, because obviously you haven't got any recruitment experience, but he has.
Yeah, so that's his whole background. So we've always both wanted to own our own companies, but neither has really wanted to do it on our own, because it's obviously quite a scary thought. I even now, going what we've been through 2 lockdowns in our first year of business, it's I would not have wanted that stress on my own. So Pete's background is recruitment, so he's 100% recruitment. He's got no interest in almost managing, if that makes sense. He's got no interest in doing stuff like this. It petrifies him, and he can't think of anything worse than being on camera. Whereas I'm the opposite. So in my last business, I helped grow both companies. So we had another little spin-off company, so I helped grow that. So that's what I love. I love working with people. I love doing, so where we run the businesses, I'm very much, I do all the finance, I do the growth plans, I do all the one-to-ones with the guys about goal sessions and things like that. And he's very much the recruitment side. So whilst he doesn't do much recruitment himself at the moment, he's getting back into it a bit more. He is very much helping the guys be better. So he's almost like the training side, and he knows everything there is to know about recruitment, basically. So he's really, really helping grow the business from that standpoint. And we work really well together, because the things I don't like doing, he likes doing, and the things that he doesn't like doing, I like doing. So it works really, really well. So we're pretty similar in our goals and our growth and the way we look at things, but we're quite dissimilar in respect of how we want to work.
Fantastic, which it sounds like it's worked really, really well for you, and you really complement each other's skills.
Yeah.
So you now have 10 staff, but obviously that's happened in 1 year, which is absolutely phenomenal. But between November and February, it was just you and Pete. So do you want to take us through what that first 3 months looked like?
Yeah, very up and down. So we're in a pure office. So we're in a big group of loads of other businesses. So when we started, obviously it was a lockdown. It was pretty much just me and Pete in the office. There's just the 2 cars in the car park. Very early mornings. So we were both getting in the office by 6 a.m. We were in the office, because the way we looked at it was no one else is going to be doing that. So we were getting a head start on all the other businesses out there, getting to speak to good candidates, because I don't know if people know, but we're primarily engineering recruiters. So most of our engineers are on the road by 7. So we know we can catch them on the phone. So we can have good conversations with them. And very much at the time it was cold calling, putting calls into clients, trying to win new clients. We had no business whatsoever. It was just starting. And I think by November the 11th, I was very much thinking I've made the wrong decision, because obviously with 2 days in, we didn't have any clients, which was to be understandable. But we got our first placement in December. They paid in December. It went into our business bank account, and it was probably one of the best days. I think me and Pete finished early that day and went to the pub. But then we had because we worked so hard, our January was really, really strong. So the way we work ours out is when they start the job, not when they get offered and accept. We do it based on there, so we don't do anything until somebody starts. So January was really strong. We put all of our savings into the business, so we didn't take any loans or anything like that. And so it was pretty much all or nothing. We didn't pay ourselves, because we had a lot of starters and we had a lot of clients that paid. We had some money in the bank. So it was very much, what should we do? Should we pay ourselves a bit, or should we take someone on? So we decided to take somebody on, put a little advert out there, and we had somebody get in touch. And yeah, the guy we had, he was okay in his job role. He was quite an average. I think he was averaging around about 6,000 a month in placements. So he's doing okay. But since he's been here and he's been managed and he's been really, really looked after, he did 30,000 in August. And he's our top biller at the moment. He's obviously got a lot more time over everybody else for the year, but he's showing signs of really, really smashing it. But he's a lot happier as well. And he's doing less hours than he was doing in his last job. So the growth from there to February, it was quite stressful. There was a few times where we were getting panicky because nothing was coming in. But it was how we dealt with it, really. Again, we had each other to fall back on. And And there was one time in particular, I think we were all very, very stressed. It was a really, really quiet day in the office. Nothing was happening. It was actually in February, just after Kieran started. And it was just before they announced, we were still in a lockdown then, obviously. And it was just when they announced the roadmap out of lockdown, and it was just really quiet. No one was on the phones, and we said, look, we can sit here and be really stressed out, or we can go home. So we decided to go home at 12. Might have been 11, and we decided to spend the afternoons with our families, and it was 100% what we all needed, because we all came back in on Monday, all ready to go, and just went from there.
Fantastic. I think when you take your first member of staff on, there's that added pressure, isn't there?
100%.
That it's not just about you guys anymore. You are then responsible for them and kind of their livelihood as well.
Yeah.
I've been there, and it can kind of mess with your kind of head a little bit, because suddenly there's a lot more pressure, not just to earn money for you, but to sustain that person as well. So obviously you took Kieran on in February, and as you said, you spent a lot of time with him, and you've kind of taken him from being a 6k biller to a 30k biller. What have you done specifically? What do you kind of do within those first few months to ensure that your people really succeed?
Yeah, it was good because Kieran knew what he was doing, so we didn't need to do too much in respect of teaching him how to recruit. Number one, I can't teach him anything because I've never done it before. So Pete didn't really have to do too much in there. It's just little things that he was doing wrong, little mistakes he was making, and just keeping him on top of that. But the main thing we try and focus on is, and it sounds quite cheesy, is making sure they're happy. I don't want anybody coming into the office or getting that Sunday night dread. I don't want anybody getting to 4, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock on a Sunday evening and thinking, oh, I've got to go to work tomorrow. I don't want that. I want them to be coming in, looking forward to coming into work. So when one thing for Kieran in his last role, him and his ex-partner share their son together, and he lives about 30 miles away from his son. So we're in Portsmouth and he lives in Southampton, and his son's in Portsmouth. So he was having to leave work because he worked near Southampton. He had to leave work at 5:30 in his last role, drive all the way to Portsmouth to pick his son up, and then drive all the way back to Southampton. So all in all, it was pretty much like a round trip of about an hour and a half. So he wasn't getting back to his house till about 7ish, and his son goes to bed at 7:30. So, and he gets him every Wednesday. So he was just seeing his son for about half an hour, and he was having to get up early, drop his son to his ex's, and then getting back to the office for 8. So one thing we said when we took him on is, look, one thing we want to help you out with is you spending time with your son. So every Wednesday now, Kieran leaves at about 2:45, and he picks his son up from school every single Wednesday, and he gets 4 or 5 hours with him before he goes to bed, and he comes in late on a Thursday. And since he's been doing that, like I say, I genuinely do think that that's a really big driver in what he does. And we do that with quite a few other things as well, because we can do incentives whereby so we do an incentive this quarter for trips away and things like that. But I think our guys work harder when we offer them a day off with their family or a longer weekend. So we do incentives quite often whereby if they hit a certain amount of interviews between Monday and Thursday, they can not come in Friday, have a free day off, and they love it. It's one of the easiest things we can do. Me and Pete are still here, so we can still cover the phones and things like that. But ultimately, they really, really strive on that.
I really like that, because sometimes it's the little things, and I think kind of independent agencies can give personalized incentives, because not everyone is motivated by the same things. And as you said, if one thing becomes a big thing for them, actually it can pull them down in other areas as well. So that one kind of active, that couple of hours a week has made such a huge difference. You know, absolutely. I bet that Kieran's not planning on going anywhere, because he's just not going to get that benefit anywhere else.
No,
so one of the things that I thought of when you told me about how successful you guys have been in terms of bringing in staff over the last 12 months, from working in the rec to rec market, is where on earth have you found them from, and how what has been your process to kind of bring them into the business, and kind of what has got them into mobile talent over other recruitment businesses?
So a big thing for me is LinkedIn. So I've always been on LinkedIn, but I've seen it always more as a distraction, if that makes sense. So because I was working for somebody else, and quite a corporate company, well, they were towards the end of my career there, but I always thought you had to be quite corporate on LinkedIn. Don't talk about anything else other than work and things like that. And since I've been part of Marble and my own business, I've realised that I can't get told off for what I post, because it's my business, so I can do what I want. So I started doing some different bits and pieces, started getting some traction. Since I've been doing that, I've had a lot of people reaching out to me saying, when you're hiring, let me know. So a couple of the other people that we got on board, they were seeing LinkedIn, and they some of them knew Pete as well, so they reached out to see if they could work here, which was good. But we wanted to get, so the plan was to take one more recruiter on in September. So then we would have been at I can't remember what the number was, but instead what we decided to do, because we couldn't find anyone, it was impossible to find any recruitment consultants. We were looking at rec to rec as well, looking to pay somebody to find someone for us, but ultimately I don't actually, when I say someone, I don't really care what their background is. I don't care what their numbers were. I'm more hiring for personality and making sure they'll fit in, and I think they've got the right work ethics. So we decided to take some junior recruiters on. So I spent probably 3 hours just going through LinkedIn, finding some younger people that were hungry, didn't really know what they wanted to be doing, and just messaged. I messaged quite a few people, and me and Pete met with I think 10 or 11 different people. So they all come from different backgrounds, and we were going to take 2 on first of all, but instead we decided to take 3 on. And none of them got any recruitment experience. So one came from a call center, another one came from like an insurance company, and another one that just finished her A-levels and she was working in a co-op. And they've all come on board, and I think we've hired pretty well. So one of our girls, she has been with us since September. So this is her 9th week, and she just promoted. So she's now a full recruiter because she hit the numbers that we wanted her to hit. We set her a 3-month goal and she did it in 2. So she's absolutely smashing it. She doesn't stop talking, but she's absolutely smashing the recruitment game. And the other couple here, and the other one is looking to promote this month. Bit of work to do, but absolutely got it there, ready to go, ready for December. So again, we were looking at it like, should we just leave it, not take anyone else on, and stay where we are? Because we moved out of that 2-man office. We squeezed 3 of us in there when Kieran started. But we moved into a slightly bigger office in May, which we thought would last us a couple of years. And then we actually moved out of there in August to the office that we're in now. So we've got an office, little meeting room within our office as well. So we should fit 20 odd people in this office. So we were looking at it going, should we invest the money in ourselves, pay ourselves a little bit of a bonus and start earning, or should we put it back into the business? So we decided, let's take on 3 people, get a bigger office, invest in our staff. And so far it's really, really paid off. We're about to hit our best quarter since we started. And we're looking to grow again next year. I've got interviews next 2 weeks for 2 or 3 new people. So we want to invest in our staff more than anything else. So that's my goal is for them to hit their goals. So whether that be them buying a house or them having really fancy cars, if that's what they want, then like we paid out Kieran a bonus when he hit his £30,000 a month, and it was a huge bonus. We got quite a good bonus structure, and I loved it. I loved paying out because we had the money, so it was lovely to pay out. So it's really nice to reward them for the hard work that they're doing.
Absolutely love that, because what happens in a lot of corporate recruitment companies is that people do really, really well, and what they find next year is that their kind of threshold for bonus goes up, because they're earning so much money. So it's really lovely for you guys to be so pleased to be paying out that money. And I think what I really picked up on when you're talking about your trainees is that, you know, attitude over aptitude is working really, really well with smaller recruitment businesses, and even some really big ones that have taken on trainees for attitude. And I think that's something that a lot of recruitment businesses are doing right now that actually they would never have done in the past. And these people are doing absolutely phenomenally well just because they've been given a chance and they've been nurtured in the right way. So there's a lot of recruitment businesses out there that are spending absolute fortunes trying to find experienced staff, and actually they'd be much better putting the time into trainees. And I think that's the way the market is going.
I genuinely think that's how we're going to build the business as well. I think we're going to build it by, not only that, we haven't got to coach any bad habits out of them, if that makes sense. So we don't want someone coming in saying, yeah, this is the way I do it. This is the way I've always done it. It's like, well, this is the way we do it. And it's good. I mean, feedback is a gift ultimately. If they have got a better way of doing it, we want to hear it. We'd never say no to feedback, but ultimately they come in and what we've got, the mold and the training that we've got in place is working. So we wouldn't change it at the moment whilst it's still working. Obviously, there might be better ways of doing it in a couple of years. I mean, the way we were planning this year to go has not ended the way we thought it would, and it's ended a lot better. So I'm planning for next year at the moment, but I'm not expecting it to be exactly the same next year as it is in my head at the moment.
Absolutely. I don't think anyone of us kind of sat in your seat last year could have planned for what's actually happened this year in the market, because it's just been absolutely unbelievable. And I know that before we came on live, you told me that not only have you guys hit your target, you're very close to hitting your stretch target as well.
Yeah, so we had, when me and Pete first started, so in like September last year when I was doing planning, I had a minimum target that we pretty much needed to keep our houses and things like that. Then I had a target which would have been, that'd be great if we can hit that target. And then we got a stretch target which was very much a pie in the sky. Never, if we hit it, we hit it. If we don't, whatever, it doesn't actually matter. We'll know within 2 or 3 weeks, but I'm pretty sure we're going to hit that as well, which is going to be great. Like if we hit that, it's just far beyond what we were expecting. We're over the moon with the way it's going so far.
Absolutely amazing. And sort of looking forward to next year then, considering that you guys have been so phenomenally successful in year one, what are your plans for next year?
So it's all very much up in the air. I'm doing planning at the moment. Me and Pete are planning on doing an off-site meeting. We say off-site meeting, we say that to everybody in it, but basically we're going to go to the pub for half a day and just say this is what we're planning on doing. But we want to get another, again, it changed. We were looking to take some recruiters on, but we're going to very much play it by ear. So the plan is to get another minimum 6 people on board by the end of next year. And at this moment in time, on paper, I've got all trainees down. But again, if a recruiter comes along, I've got one recruiter we're looking to take on. But if a recruiter comes along and we've got the money behind us, then absolutely we will do it as well. I think next year is still focus on engineering as well. But then going further on from that, so my background is software sales, so SaaS. So my background is sales and marketing. So I'd very much like to get back into that and start recruiting and that sort of thing potentially. So there are big plans ahead. We want to stay in this office at least another year if we can. Like I say, we can get 20 people in it. But if we need to move again, we need to move again. There's a reason why we're moving. It's because we're growing. So we want to keep going.
Fantastic. So what would you say are kind of the main lessons that you guys have learned in year one?
The biggest thing for me is hire well. So the people that we have taken on are good hires. I know it's not always that easy to do that, but like I said before, I haven't looked at anyone's CV. I don't care like what you've done before. Obviously, if you've had one job every month for 2 years, there's probably an issue with you. But ultimately, it's just about hiring for personality rather than anything else. I know a lot of people on this are looking to maybe start their own recruitment company. One thing I would say is I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm not earning anywhere near what I used to earn at this moment in time. I know that will come in time, but I'm the happiest I can sleep now. I didn't sleep for 3 or 4 years in a previous role, and I go to sleep every night. It's a different kind of stress. And again, if you are doing it, I'm pretty lucky that I've got Pete in respect of both of us are half in the stress from each of us, and we also both know that we're not going to screw each other over, because if I screwed him over, my mum would shout at me, and if he screwed his over, his mum would shout at him, because we're cousins. So we know it's never going to happen. So it might be slightly different if we were going to start a business with a friend or someone or a colleague. That might be different. But I've got to say, you've got to have ultimate trust with the person you're going to start a business with, which we've both got, which is lucky. But I'd say go for it. It's the biggest thing you can do. And I genuinely don't think that I would have gone for it on my own, just because that is a massive stress. Like me and Pete get a bit stressed out sometimes when the money's not coming in and we know we got to pay people, which is fine. We're pretty sensible. We make sure we got the money in the account before we take someone on to pay them for 3 months, should they not do anything. So we're making sure we've got that all the time, but it's still a bit scary.
Absolutely. I mean, I started my business completely on my own 11 years ago, and I think I made loads of mistakes, but also one of the reason I made all those mistakes was because I didn't have anyone to bounce off, and it was a lonely process. And kind of that was the recruitment period where everyone saw you as competition and people didn't really collaborate, and kind of it was a lonely place to be. I know I mentioned at the beginning of the video that we are doing a challenge next week, a completely free challenge called Start Your Recruitment Business in 2022. And I'm doing that with one of my clients, which is District 4. And the reason that I really resonate with District 4 as a business is because they're creating a community of independent recruitment business owners. And one of the taglines that they have is going it alone doesn't need to be lonely. And the reason that I resonate with them so much is because I was really lonely. And actually, that wasn't a nice place to be. So it didn't stop me from doing it. And I think that these days there are so many options to have your own business, have the autonomy, the flexibility to do what you want, make your own decisions, work with who you want to work with and how you want to work, but you don't have to do it on your own. So I think that's where these kind of models, are really, really needed these days. I think whoever you're going to work with, whether it be that you join a model like District 4 or you get an investor or a business partner, I think it just needs to be that, you get on really, really well. It's for the long term, and that you anticipate kind of any bumps in the road in the future. And for you, you've got your mums kind of in the background keeping you guys accountable. So I suspect
Yeah.
if you fell out, it would be kind of in the short term, and then you guys can move on. Because I know that occasionally people kind of get a little bit worried about working for a family business. But yeah, if you guys are keeping each other accountable through your mums, I suspect you'll have no problems whatsoever.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not just Pete as well. I mean, Pete's got some people that he bounces off of. I've got two people in particular. One of them runs a recruitment agency, which again has gone out on his own, and he's got a very different kind of stress than I've got. And we meet up once a month for a coffee and just almost vent to each other, which is good and it's needed. We walk away from that meeting feeling better. I've got another guy who doesn't do recruitment. He runs a gym. I vent with him quite a bit about, and he vents to me about him running his business. So it's not just about the recruitment side of things as well. It's about running the business side of things. And ultimately, no matter what the business is, people have got the same kind of stresses when it comes to things like staff and training and morale. So we just want to. So I mean, next week, for example, we've got like a team building thing. I don't really like the phrase team building. I think it sounds a bit cheesy, but we're going to go to we've hired out a gym and we're going to do almost like a sports day kind of thing in an afternoon. So we're finishing early on next Wednesday. Very much them against me and Pete. So me and Pete are going to obviously finish victorious, but things like that as well, like days off for Christmas parties and things like that. So we're always trying to make it a good place to work.
Fantastic. I think I pick really up on your point there about having a network of supportive people, whether they're in recruitment or not, is really, really important in terms of having those sounding boards. And I think LinkedIn as well is a great thing for that. I think we see more than ever now, we see people asking questions on LinkedIn. We see people supporting each other. We see people collaborating. We see people being honest if they're going through a bad time and getting support. And I think, that very much, whilst you've got that online network, having physical people that you can meet up with for a coffee as well and kind of share those stresses is a very good thing, isn't it?
Well, it's good that LinkedIn. I put a post on a couple of months ago. Actually, I think you mentioned it to me, and it was when I was working in my last role. So I was running the sales floor in my last company, and there was I was getting in the office about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and getting home 8, 9 o'clock at night. I wasn't seeing my family, and my son I think was about 4 or so. And I used to have a whiteboard in my kitchen, just like a little reminder. And I got in from work and he'd written on the whiteboard, I got my swimming certificate today. Are you proud of me? And I thought to myself, he knew he wasn't going to see me because I was going to be at work. So he wrote it there and he wanted me to write something. So he saw it when I was back and I was like, game over. That's it. I'm not doing these hours anymore. And I actually stepped down from management. I think it was about a couple of weeks later. And that for me is my driver. So for us, we don't really want the guys here working late. There are some occasions when they might need to phone a candidate after hours or they might need to speak to a client later. But again, if they can help it, I'd rather they didn't. We want people leaving on time because for me personally, I don't want people to go through. I pretty much sacrificed seeing my children grow up for the first 4 or 5 years of their lives just to try and get to a place where I thought I wanted to get to, when in fact, when I actually got there, it turned out I didn't want it. And I wanted to do something different. So when it comes to 5 o'clock, there's no one in this office. We all go at 5. And like I said, on occasion, we might need to work occasionally, but it's never necessary. Weekends off completely. So it's the most on work-life balance for me is the biggest thing. And that's thrown about quite a lot, but that post that I put on resonated with so many people. I think it's the most viewed and most liked post that I've ever had. And it just went mad. I had loads of people that I used to work with reaching out to me saying it's really, really hit home for me. How do you feel about doing what you're doing at the moment? And that's the biggest thing for me. That's my driver.
And I think that's when we first spoke, because I saw that post and it really resonated with me because I started my business. And one of my main achievements is that I've been able to take my daughter to school and pick her up every day because people just can't do that. And I think as she's got older, she's begun to appreciate that as well. And so, your why in your driver is so important to success as well. And actually in the challenge next week, if you start your recruitment business challenge, day 1 is about your why. because I know, and you'll know, if you have a strong enough why, it keeps you going and it keeps you
Yeah,
going through tough
and that's
times.
with when we're setting goals as well. So the majority of people I don't think do goals. And if there's anyone watching this that used to work with me in my last place, they'll probably be laughing because my old MD was very, very goal driven. And I'd never done goals before I started working with him. And a big goal for me, I used to write down all the time, was I wanted to earn 100K. And then when I started asking why, so I did a goal sheet. I do it every year and look at it every week. I used to put my goal down. The next question was why, and if I couldn't answer it, then I didn't. I took it off. And when I wanted to earn 100K, it was why. I couldn't answer the question. There's no reason why you want to earn that, so I took it off. And as soon as I took it off, I started doing things like spend more time with my son, spend more time with my daughter, spend more time with my wife. As I started doing stuff like that, it made me happier. So with my guys, in December, I'm going to be taking them all out of the office one at a time, going for a coffee and sitting down, finding what their why is, because each and every one of them is going to be different. I know some of them want to buy a house. I know some of them want to start a family. I know some of them want a nice big car. I know some people that want to go on holidays. I know people that are into computers. So things like that. So I'll be going through that and helping them to hit their goals. And there's fitness goals as well. So each and every one of them are different. So the why for me is the biggest thing that you want to go with. And there's a guy on YouTube called Eric Thomas. He's like an American guy. He's a bit over the top, but if you listen to some of his videos, I defy you to come away not feeling pumped and ready to go. So it's worth having a look at him.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really good tip as well for writing your goals, actually asking why, because I think a lot of the time we put things on our list because we feel that we should want them, or we see other people doing them. And the 100K, you wouldn't believe, every single time I speak to a consultant, anyone starting their own business, ask them how much they want to earn. Every single time, without a doubt, their first goal is 100K.
Yeah,
When
it's
I
a
ask them
six-figure
why,
figure.
quite often they really don't know.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the figure that they always choose. And I think that's a really good way to write goals. And I would say, anyone who hasn't done their 2022 goals yet, absolutely, when you write your goal, ask yourself why.
Oh, I mean,
Anything strong
I've drawn
enough,
up.
off.
Yeah, and I've drawn up a goal template that I use and I give it to everybody that I do. And there's three things I ask myself with every goal: is why is one of them. The other one is how will I feel when I achieve this, and how will I feel if I don't achieve this. And I've got that on there. So, and I do a little update for myself every Sunday, so I can see have I done anything towards that goal this week. And then sometimes there's been 2 or 3 weeks where I haven't done anything towards it. That's one of two reasons. One, it's not that important to me. Otherwise, I would have done something to it, or I've just been very lazy. Most of the time, it means I've been lazy and I've been looking into it. So then I'll start doing something about it. But it's the how I will feel if I don't achieve it is a big one for me as well. Because I look at it, I think, well, if it gets to the end of the year and I haven't done what I want to do, then that's not what I want to be doing.
Absolutely, that's really important as well. It's not just about setting goals once a year; it's about actually regularly reviewing them, and kind of holding yourself accountable as well. Or if you're not able to do that, finding someone to hold you accountable on a regular basis.
Accountability is the biggest thing. Like, I won't do anything unless I've told somebody about it, because ultimately, you won't. If no one knows, it doesn't matter, does it? So a big thing for me this year was fitness. So I told my coach at the gym, I said, I want to do this, but I need you to chase me every Monday if I don't send you an update, and he does. And it's been my best year for fitness so far. So
Amazing. I know with a lot of my coaching clients, the biggest kind of struggle for independent recruiters starting their own businesses is that suddenly they're accountable to no one but themselves. And whilst that sounds like a really positive thing, actually, they can get in a mess quite quickly, or they can let themselves off. So they can have certain goals that they're really passionate about, but if they don't hit them, no one's going to tell them off, so they're not really bothered. But actually, it means that they're not progressing. So just kind of, if you are unable to hold yourself accountable, if you can find someone who is, then it'll absolutely help you be successful as well. So thank you
definitely.
so much for sharing your story with us, Luke. I think
That's right.
a lot of people will find it inspirational. And I think that you guys are doing amazing things. And I think the culture that you have created within your business is absolutely amazing. And the fact that you've been able to hire the staff you have and to kind of get them to where they are, is a real inspiration for those people maybe that are out there in the market with a business like yours that are kind of struggling to hire those experienced staff. I think really it may make them kind of have a look at the trainee market and hire for attitude rather than aptitude as well.
Nice.
So we're going to finish there, but first of all, Luke has kindly agreed to answer some of your questions. So if you want to put any questions that you have for Luke in comments now, I'm also going to put the link for the free challenge I'm running next week with District 4 in the comments for you guys as well. I'd absolutely love you to come and join us if you are thinking about starting your own business. There's no pressure. It's all about exploration. It's all about exploring kind of what these things mean to you. So for anyone that missed at the beginning, we have a free challenge running next week in partnership with District 4, and we're going to look at 5 things over the week. We're going to look at your why, your vision, your financials, which is really important, your market and your business plan. And the idea of it is that by the end of the week, you will have explored whether it's for you, and you'll either be absolutely raring to go and start your own business, or you'll have decided it's not for you, which again is absolutely fine as well. So bob the link in comments. I would absolutely love you to join us for the free challenge. It will be over on Facebook. So if you want to send me a direct message or use that link to sign up, you will automatically get access to the Facebook group. We'll get a live in there every morning with a task for you to complete. And there is also a live Q&A session every lunchtime as well. And everything that we do in there will be available on replay, so you can go back and watch it in your own time as well. While we wait for some questions to come through, Luke, if anyone has a question for Luke, please put it in comments now. I had a couple of questions for you myself.
Okay.
One thing was about your culture. Obviously, you have had a lot of people in a really short period of time. So how do you go from 1 to 10 people within a year and kind of create that sort of culture with so many new people starting on kind of a really, really regular basis?
It's really hard to say it without sounding like David Brent, but I want to basically, I just want them to enjoy coming to work. So when they come in, me and Pete are very much lead by example. So you'll see me and Pete messing around maybe for a bit, and then we want them to join in as well. It's very much so. I don't think they see us as their bosses, if that makes sense. Sounds so David Brent. I think they see us as just like their colleagues as well. So they'll get involved in having a laugh and things like that. But it's just, I think if you come into our business today, you can't help but be part of the culture. Otherwise, you're very much going to stick out like a sore thumb, because we do absolutely work hard. So we're in the office at 6, and I'm not one of these 5 a.m. club things. It's just that I've got 2 young kids. Well, they were young. They're 11 and 9 now, but I've just carried on getting up at 5 every day anyway.
Getting out the house before the school run starts.
Exactly. And Pete's got a 7-month-old and a 3-year-old. So he doesn't sleep anyway. So he's just might as well come into the office before the carnage starts. So we've got that routine, and 2 of the guys get in. Normally, Kieran's in before us at 6, and he's got the coffee ready for us. One of our guys gets in just after that, another one at 7, and the rest of them get in around about 8, half 7, 8. So this culture piece is very much we're leading by example, and we make sure they go home on time. We make sure they take their lunch breaks, take breaks. The big thing for us is that when they first start here, I always say to them that if you've got any problems whatsoever, come and see me. Don't let anything fester, because what could start really small as an issue you've got in your head, if you don't say anything within a week, it's going to be a lot bigger than it originally was. Because in your head, you're going to start saying to yourself, oh, this has happened as well, and this has happened, and this has happened. You're going to build and build and build. It's going to be a much bigger problem than it originally was, if it was a problem at all. And so far, they've been doing that. They've been coming to me if there's an issue, and sometimes it can be fixed immediately. Sometimes when we talk about it a bit more, it's actually their issue, and they've become accountable for it. So very much an open door policy. They come and see us whenever there's an issue. But we've just taken on a HR company as well, because I want them to feel protected. I don't want them to come to me and then feel like I haven't done anything right. Then they can still go higher than us. So we've just invested in that as well. So we're just getting all the stuff ironed out there. So for me, it's just employees first. It's very much them, because we're nothing without them. We'd just be me and Pete sat in the office still.
Fantastic. I think you've got a really humanistic approach. And I think for me, the exciting thing about seeing so many independent recruiters starting their businesses kind of in the last year, 18 months through the pandemic, is that people are starting them for good reasons. You know, they're treating people really well. They're prioritizing candidate and client service. It's not about bums on seats. It's not just about the bottom line, because it's about the people. And I think that absolutely comes across in spades with you guys. And I think that's why you've been so successful. So thank you so much. You've been an absolutely fantastic guest.
No problem.
We have had no other questions come through for now. So if anyone would like to ask a question, maybe you're watching on the replay, please do feel free to ask myself or Luke a question by tagging us in comments. Best of luck for hitting that stretch target. I know you've got things planned, and for next year as well. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon. So that's all from us today. I'll be back next week with special guest James Johnson. James built and sold Nickel Curtin They're a global recruitment business, and last year set up District 4, who we've mentioned previously, who support recruiters to start their own businesses. And James will be coming on and talking about his past experience and why he's decided, again, to start a business with a human approach, not only to support the actual recruiters to live their lives and build their businesses the way they want to, but also to have a positive effect on candidates and clients and really change that view of recruiters in the industry, which I know that Luke and his team are working hard towards as well. So I shall see you next Thursday at 12:30. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you then. Thanks again, Luke. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.